Welcome to the Story of Money by Ash Stewart. Episode 20, Meeting Adam Smith and Exploring the Unknown Seeds and Sentiments of His Work. It is said about the classics or classical literature that everyone has an opinion on them, but nobody's read them. In this decimilestone episode of the series, we meet the author of one such great classic work relevant to our subject. A Fertile Island. No man is an island, it's also said, and no great cultural and intellectual output emerges from a vacuum. Let's explore the context and the background before we get to the person. In my parallel series on human achievement, tecc, I've traced the evolution of human intellectual progress from the earliest days. By the time we get to the 1700s, there arose in Scotland an effervescence of intellectual output, which has been termed the Scottish Enlightenment, which developed within the fertile soil of the wider British context of rapidization, setting the stage for the Industrial Revolution in Britain shortly thereafter. The Enlightenment within Britain itself was part of a wider movement in Western Europe as a break from the medieval past, all of which I've been covering in the said other series, with more to come. It was into this milieu of extraordinary intellectual output was born Adam Smith. Adam Smith, in a sense, needs no introduction. He's widely regarded as the father of economics, or even the father of capitalism. Although, check out tecc 48 and tecc 49. Smith is seen as having pioneered the idea of so-called free market capitalism, and based on who you ask, unfettered economic activity and industrial expansion with profit-seeking as the sole motive, and with the state moving out of the way with no role to play. And of course, such ideas are claimed to have been crystallized by him in his landmark book, The Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, or simply, The Wealth of Nations. But was he really all that, and was that really his tenet, message, and goal? Notions and sentiments. Much as some people may love to hate this Gordon Gekko image of Smith, I have disappointing news for them. He was indeed a very different person than his popular caricature. He was first and foremost a moral philosopher, mainly concerned about understanding and improving the human condition, in particular, that of the less fortunate sections of society. This manifests in what might in fact be an even greater work of his, the Theory of Moral Sentiments, published much earlier, and so thought even by the author himself. Even though some of the notions of morality and similar values have changed in the 2.5 centuries that have passed since. Scholarly research and opinion have pointed out some surprisingly modern treatment by Smith on these topics, such as per research, around concepts like mutual empathy, egalitarianism, individual sovereignty, and human dignity. An Inquiry in Earnest. So, his subsequent inquiry into economic questions that form the substance of his more famous work can be traced to stem from this deep concern for improving the human condition, as just mentioned. Let's take a few examples of this as emanating from that work. We saw, in the previous episode, his description of the notion of division of labor as underpinning, can't help the pun, the new economic system that was emerging, leading to the Industrial Revolution in Britain. An economic system others later, approvingly or disapprovingly, have called capitalism. In the episode on specialization, I mentioned how the philosopher Karl Marx, perhaps the one person most opposed to the so-called capitalism, railed against specialization. Now guess what? In fact, Adam Smith, in his discussion of the division of labor, expressed deep concerns on the same matter. Let's next look at the other popular misnotion that a free market should be allowed to operate unfettered by the interference of the state. Adam Smith's work evinced no such ideological position. Smith expressly insisted that the state had a very specific role in ensuring the good functioning of markets and the well-being of society thereof. As part of this, he explicitly called for state programs such as ongoing access to public education to help alleviate the sense of loss of dignity that can arise by being a small cog in a big industrial wheel. Yes, don't take my word for it. He said it. And, perhaps most strikingly, he looked upon wealthy merchants who then try to game the market system to their incumbent advantage. The fat cats, as we may call them, with extreme scorn. The mean rapacity and monopolizing spirit of the merchants and manufacturers. He spoke of their oligarchic tendencies to form cartels, to stifle new competition, to bend the state with tax preferences and protective tariffs to suit their own interests. A more recent economist, or a few of them, have spoken about the need to save capitalism from the capitalists. While Smith wouldn't have used such terms in his time, he was probably the first man. He wasn't named Adam for nothing. To recognize and express the danger of such excessive concentration of wealth and power by people who rose within the system as posing the biggest threat to the system that made them. Ultimately, all these need to be taken in context, not just the contemporary context I provided above, but for us looking back into the past and connecting it to the present, a wider evolutionary or historical context. Adam Smith, in essence, sought to debunk an older economic and political system that had existed into his lifetime. We may think our system is bad, and most of us would agree it's not perfect. What is? But to understand what we have, we must, as I'll come back to, recognize how awful the system before it was. And it is in this light that we must look at what Adam Smith did. Describe and help elevate an economic system that was, and despite everything remains, a huge improvement over what existed before.